Alina Martinez wiped the whiteboard clean as the last of her second-grade students disappeared down the hallway of Willowbrook Elementary. October sunlight streamed through the classroom windows, casting golden rectangles across the scattered crayon drawings still drying on desks. At 28, she had found her rhythm in this small Connecticut town, teaching by day, volunteering at the animal shelter on weekends, and spending quiet evenings in her apartment above the bakery with a good book.
Oh.
Her phone buzzed against the wooden desk. Gabriel Sterling. The name made her pause, her cloth hovering over the board. They had grown up together in Willowbrook, inseparable until high school graduation sent their lives in opposite directions. While Alina stayed close to home, Gabriel had ventured into the world of technology and business, eventually becoming one of America's youngest billionaires. "Alina, I need to see you tonight. Can you come to the city? It's important." She stared at the message, remembering their last conversation 6 months ago at his adoptive mother's funeral. Mrs. Sterling had taken Gabriel after his parents died in a car accident when he was 15. Alina had been there for him during those dark days, just as she had been throughout their friendship. The drive to Manhattan took 2 hours, giving Alina time to wonder what could be so urgent. Gabriel's penthouse occupied the top floor of a gleaming tower in Midtown, a world away from the tree-lined streets of Willowbrook. The doorman recognized her immediately and escorted her to the private elevator. Gabriel opened the door before she could knock, as if he had been waiting by the entrance. Success had shaped him into a more serious man at 30, with silver threads beginning to show in his dark hair. But his eyes still held the warmth she remembered from their youth. "Thank you for coming," he said, embracing her briefly. The familiar scent of his cologne mixed with something she couldn't identify. Nervousness, perhaps. The penthouse was magnificent, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of the city lights. Modern furniture in neutral tones filled the space, but Alina noticed touches that spoke of Gabriel's personality: books scattered on tables, a guitar in the corner, and photographs from their childhood displayed on a shelf. "You kept those?" she said, walking over to examine a picture of them at age 10, both grinning with missing front teeth. "I keep all the important things," Gabriel replied quietly. They sat in his living room, making small talk about her students and his latest business ventures. But Alina could sense the tension radiating from him with his hands fidgeted with his coffee cup. The careful pauses between his words. "Gabriel, what's really going on? You didn't ask me to drive 2 hours just to catch up." Cuppin turned to face her fully. For a moment, the successful businessman disappeared, and she saw the uncertain boy she had comforted all those years ago. "I want to have a child," he said simply. Alina blinked, confused. "That's wonderful. Have you met someone special?" Gabriel shook his head slowly. "No, that's just it. I've tried dating, Alina. I've met countless women, but they all want something. From meth, lifestyle, the money, the status. None of them see me, the real me. They see Gabriel Sterling, the billionaire, not Gabriel, the person." Waited, sensing there was more he needed to say. "I'm 30 years old and I feel like I'm running out of time to have something real in my life. I want a child. Someone I can love unconditionally. Someone who will love me for who I am, not what I have." "I understand that desire," Alina said gently. "But there are other options. Adoption. Surrogacy with someone you trust." Gabriel stood and walked to the window, his reflection ghost-like against the city lights. "I've thought about all of that, but I keep coming back to one person. One woman I trust completely. Someone who has never wanted anything from me except friendship." The realization hit Alina like a physical blow. Her breath caught in her throat as she understood what he was asking. "Gabriel, you can't be serious." He turned back to her, his expression earnest and vulnerable. "I'm completely serious. Lena, you're the only person in my life who has never changed, never wanted something from me. You've been my constant, my anchor. I'm going to have a child. I want it to be with someone I trust. Absolutely." Lena stood abruptly, pacing to the other side of the room. "This is insane. We're friends, Gabriel. Best friends. But you can't just ask me to have your baby like you're asking me to water your plants while you're away." "I know how it sounds," he said, his voice calm despite the magnitude of what he was proposing. "But hear me out. This wouldn't be some casual arrangement. I would take care of everything, all the medical expenses, your living costs, anything you need. And I would be completely involved as a father. What about us? What about our friendship? Gabriel moved closer, but kept a respectful distance. Our friendship is exactly why this could work. We trust each other, Alina. We care about each other. Isn't that a better foundation than some random attraction or business arrangement? Alina sank back onto the couch, her mind reeling. I need time to think about this. This isn't something I can just decide right now. Of course, Gabriel said immediately. Take all the time you need. I just wanted you to know that this isn't some impulsive decision. I've been thinking about it for months. She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the loneliness he tried so hard to hide. Behind the success and the wealth was the same boy who had lost his parents, who had always struggled to trust people's motives. Why me, Gabriel? Really, why? He was quiet for a long moment, choosing his words carefully. Because you see me, you always have. When everyone else sees the money or the power, you see the person underneath. You've never asked me for anything. Never tried to change me or use me. You're kind, intelligent, and caring. If I could choose anyone in the world to be the mother of my child, it would be you. Alina felt tears prick her eyes. The sincerity in his voice was unmistakable. This would change everything between us, maybe, Gabriel admitted. But maybe it would make everything better. Maybe we could build something beautiful together, something real. She stood to leave, her emotions too overwhelming to process in his presence. I need to go home and think about this. Gabriel walked her to the elevator, his expression hopeful but patient. Whatever you decide, it won't change how I feel about you as a friend. I hope you know that. The elevator doors closed between them, and Alina leaned against the wall, her mind spinning with possibilities and fears. The man who had been her constant companion through childhood was asking her to take a leap of faith that could either destroy their friendship or transform it into something neither of them had ever imagined. Alina spent 3 sleepless nights staring at her bedroom ceiling, Gabriel's proposal echoing in her mind like a persistent melody. She found herself distracted during class, losing track of her lesson plans while watching her students play during recess. Their innocent laughter and boundless energy made her think about motherhood in ways she had never considered before. On Thursday evening, she drove to the other side of Willowbrook to visit Mrs. Catherine, her former high school English teacher who had become a cherished mentor over the years. The elderly woman lived in a charming cottage surrounded by rose gardens, and her wisdom had guided Alina through many difficult decisions. You look troubled, dear, Mrs. Catherine observed as she poured tea from a delicate porcelain set. Her silver hair was pulled back in an elegant bun, and her kind eyes held decades of understanding. Someone has asked me to do something that could change my entire life, Alina began carefully. It's not dangerous or wrong, but it's so far outside anything I've ever considered. Is this someone trustworthy? Completely. I've known him since we were children. He's never lied to me or asked me for anything unreasonable before. Mrs. Catherine sipped her tea thoughtfully. Sometimes the most important decisions we make are the ones that terrify us most. The question isn't whether you're afraid of the right things. What do you mean? Alina asked. Are you afraid of making a mistake, or are you afraid of missing an opportunity? Are you afraid of change, or are you afraid of staying exactly where you are? That night, Alina sat in her apartment above the bakery, surrounded by the familiar scent of tomorrow's bread rising in the ovens below. Mrs. Catherine's words echoed in her mind as she considered her life comfortable, predictable, safe. She had always chosen security over adventure, certainty over risk. But Gabriel's request wasn't just about having a baby. It was about trust, about building something meaningful with someone who truly knew her. She thought about the loneliness she had glimpsed in his eyes, the same loneliness she sometimes felt in her own quiet evenings. The next morning, she called in sick to work and drove back to Manhattan. Gabriel answered his door in jeans and a worn sweater, looking more like the boy she had grown up with than the polished businessman from earlier in the week. I have conditions, she said without preamble. He stepped aside to let her in, his expression careful. Okay, This doesn't change our friendship. No matter what happens, we remain friends first. And I want to be involved in every decision about this child, not just the pregnancy, but everything that comes after. Gabriel nodded slowly. Wouldn't want it any other way? I'm not doing this for money or lifestyle changes. I'm doing this because I believe in you, in us, and in the idea that love doesn't always look the way we expect it to. Alina, he said softly, are you saying yes? She took a deep breath, feeling as if she were standing at the edge of a cliff. I'm saying yes. The next few months passed in a blur of medical appointments, legal consultations, and quiet conversations about the future. Gabriel insisted on the best doctors, the most comprehensive care, and he was present for every appointment. He moved into a guest room in his penthouse to give her space, while remaining close enough to help with anything she needed. As winter gave way to spring, their relationship evolved into something neither had anticipated. It wasn't romance in the traditional sense, but it was deeper than friendship, a partnership built on mutual respect, shared dreams, and the growing life between them. Do you ever regret it? Gabriel asked one evening as they sat on his balcony watching the sunset. Paint the city in shades of gold and pink. Alina's hand rested on her rounded belly, 6 months along now. Which part? She asked with a smile. Any of it. All of it. She considered his question seriously. I regret that it took us so long to have this conversation. I regret that you felt so alone for so many years. But this, she gestured between them, encompassing their strange new life together. I don't regret this at all. Emma Sterling Martinez was born on a crisp October morning, exactly 1 year after Gabriel's initial request. She arrived with dark hair like her father's and curious eyes that seemed to take in everything around her. As Alina held her daughter, for the first time, she understood that this journey had given her something she hadn't even known she was missing. Gabriel stood beside the hospital bed, tears streaming down his face as he touched his daughter's tiny hand. She's perfect, he whispered. She is, Alina agreed, but she was looking at Gabriel, not the baby. Somewhere in the process of creating life together, they'd created something else, a family that defied conventional definitions, but felt more real than anything either of them had experienced before. The first few months of parenthood were exhausting and beautiful. Gabriel proved to be a devoted father, taking night shifts without complaint and approaching every milestone with wonder. Alina found herself falling in love not just with her daughter, but with the man Gabriel had become, patient, gentle, and completely devoted to their little family. One evening, as they sat in the nursery watching Emma sleep, Gabriel turned to Alina with an expression she had never seen before. I need to tell you something, he said quietly. What is it? I think I've been in love with you for years, long before I asked you to have my baby. I think that's why I could never make it work with anyone else. Lena's heart skipped a beat. Gabriel, I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I just needed you to know. Whatever this is between us, whatever we become, I want it to be honest. She reached for his hand, their fingers intertwining with the ease of old friendship and the promise of something new. I love you too, she said. I think I always have. I just needed to be brave enough to let myself feel it. They kissed for the first time in the soft glow of the nursery nightlight, with their daughters sleeping peacefully beside them. Tasted like coming home and setting off on an adventure all at once. 6 months later, they were married in a small ceremony in Willowbrook. Surrounded by the people who had watched their friendship bloom into something extraordinary, Mrs. Catherine officiated, her eyes twinkling with the satisfaction of a teacher who had guided her students toward the right answer. As they danced to their first song, as husband and wife, with Emma sleeping in her grandmother's arms nearby, Alina marveled at the unexpected turns life could take. What had started as an impossible request had become the most natural thing in the world. Thank you, Gabriel whispered against her ear as they swayed together. For what? For saying yes? For taking a chance on us. For giving me everything I never knew I needed. Alina smiled, remembering the scared woman who had stood in his penthouse 2 years ago, afraid to step outside her comfortable life. Thank you for asking, she whispered back. Thank you for seeing me. As the music played and their daughters slept, and their future stretched out before them full of possibility, Lena realized that sometimes the most important decisions were the ones that terrified you most. And sometimes, when you were brave enough to say yes to the impossible became the most beautiful reality you could imagine. The India liked this video if the story touched your heart. Subscribe for more emotional tales and share with someone who believes in the power of true love. And let us know in the comments. We love connecting with our global community of romance lovers.